There exists within every human being a power so extraordinary, so transformative, that most people live their entire lives without ever truly harnessing it. This power is not bestowed upon the privileged few, nor is it a gift from the heavens reserved for the chosen ones. It resides within you right now, at this very moment, waiting to be awakened, waiting to reshape your reality, waiting to transform your very existence from one of limitation to one of unlimited possibility. This power is the force of positive thinking, and when properly understood and applied with unwavering commitment and scientific precision, it becomes the catalyst for the most remarkable transformations you can imagine. But let me warn you from the outset, this is not about wishful thinking or empty optimism that ignores reality. This is not about pretending that challenges do not exist or that difficulties will magically disappear if you simply smile and think happy thoughts. This is about a fundamental shift in how you perceive and interact with the world around you, a shift so profound that it alters the very fabric of your experience, transforming you from a passive victim of circumstances into an active creator of your destiny. The first step in this transformation begins with a recognition that has eluded millions throughout history, the understanding that your thoughts are not merely fleeting mental events that come and go without consequence, but actual forces that shape your reality with the precision of a sculptor's chisel on marble. Every thought you think sends ripples through the universe of your experience, creating circumstances, attracting opportunities, influencing outcomes, and determining the trajectory of your life in ways that science is only beginning to understand and quantify. The latest research in neuroscience and quantum physics is revealing what mystics and philosophers have known for centuries, that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of brain activity, but a creative force that participates in the formation of reality itself. Yet most people treat their thoughts as random occurrences, allowing their minds to wander into negativity, doubt, and limitation without ever questioning the consequences of this mental negligence. They wonder why their lives seem stuck in patterns of struggle and disappointment, never realizing that they are the architects of their own experience through the thoughts they choose to entertain, the beliefs they choose to accept, and the mental images they choose to hold in their consciousness. When you begin to monitor your inner dialogue with the vigilance of a security guard protecting a precious treasure, when you start paying attention to the constant conversation happening inside your head with the intensity of a scientist studying a fascinating phenomenon, you discover something remarkable and perhaps initially disturbing. You discover that you have been your own worst enemy, that the voice inside your head has been programming you for mediocrity, for limitation, for a life far smaller than what you are capable of achieving. This internal critic, this voice of doubt and fear, has been more effective at keeping you trapped than any external enemy could ever be. It has convinced you that your dreams are unrealistic, that your goals are too ambitious, that success is for other people but not for you. It has whispered lies about your abilities, your worthiness, your potential, and you have listened to these lies as though they were gospel truth. But here is the profound truth that changes everything, the revelation that can transform your life in an instant. If you truly grasp its implications, you have the power to change that inner dialogue. You have the ability to transform that critical, doubting, limiting voice into a supportive, encouraging, empowering force that propels you toward your highest potential with the momentum of a rocket breaking free from Earth's gravitational pull. This transformation of your inner dialogue is not accomplished through force or willpower alone, which would be like trying to stop a river with your bare hands, but through a systematic process of becoming keenly aware of your thoughts, questioning their validity with the rigor of a trial attorney, cross-examining a witness, and consciously choosing thoughts that serve your highest good and align with your deepest aspirations. When you catch yourself thinking thoughts of limitation, when you notice yourself dwelling on what you cannot do, what you do not have, what is wrong with your life, what obstacles stand in your way, You must pause, like a wise judge, considering evidence, and ask yourself a critical question that cuts through the fog of mental confusion. Does this thought serve me? Does it move me closer to where I want to be, or does it keep me trapped in where I am? Does it empower me to take positive action, or does it paralyze me with fear and doubt? Does it open possibilities, or does it close them? If the thought does not serve you, if it does not empower you, if it does not inspire you to take positive action toward your goals, then you must replace it with a thought that does, just as you would replace a broken tool with one that works effectively. This is not positive thinking in the superficial sense that so many people misunderstand, thinking that they can simply paste happy thoughts over their problems like Band-Aids over deep wounds. This is conscious thinking, deliberate thinking, purposeful thinking that recognizes the immense power of thought to create reality. It is the recognition that your thoughts are too important to be left to chance, too powerful to be allowed to run wild like untrained horses, too influential in determining your destiny to be ignored or taken lightly, or treated as mere mental noise. As you begin to master your inner dialogue, as you start to consciously choose thoughts that empower rather than limit you, something extraordinary begins to happen that will amaze you with its consistency and power. Your entire perception of reality starts to shift like a kaleidoscope, turning to reveal new patterns of possibility. Where once you saw obstacles that seemed insurmountable, you begin to see opportunities disguised as challenges. Where once you saw problems that overwhelmed you with their complexity, you begin to see possibilities that excite you with their potential. Where once you saw limitations that defined the boundaries of your world, you begin to see potential that expands those boundaries beyond anything you previously imagined possible. Your shift in perception is not merely a change in attitude, like putting on rose-colored glasses to make everything look better. It is a fundamental alteration in your relationship with reality itself, a rewiring of your mental circuitry that allows you to access aspects of existence that were always there, but previously invisible to your consciousness. You begin to understand that the world you experience is not an objective reality happening to you regardless of your thoughts and beliefs, but a subjective experience created by you through the lens of your thoughts, beliefs, expectations, and mental programming. This understanding brings with it an incredible sense of freedom and responsibility that can be simultaneously liberating and terrifying. Freedom because you realize that you are not a victim of circumstances, that you have far more control over your experience than you ever imagined, that you are not at the mercy of external forces, but are actually a participant in creating your reality. Responsibility because you understand that the quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of your thinking, that you cannot blame others for your circumstances when you realize how much power you have to change those circumstances through changing your thoughts. With this newfound awareness comes the second step in your transformation, the power to envision and create a future that not only exceeds your current reality, but transcends what you previously believed was possible for someone like you. Most people live their lives looking backward like passengers in a car, watching the road they have already traveled, dwelling on past mistakes, past failures, past disappointments, past limitations, past evidence of why they cannot succeed. They allow their history to define their future with the finality of a prison sentence, their yesterday to determine their tomorrow with the inevitability of a mathematical equation. They become prisoners of their own past, trapped by old stories about who they are and what they are capable of achieving. But the mind that has been awakened to its true power understands that the past is merely information, not destiny. It understands that every moment presents an opportunity to begin again, to choose a different direction, to create a different outcome, to write a new chapter in the story of their life. It recognizes that the future is not predetermined by the past, but is created by the choices made in the present moment, by the thoughts chosen now, by the actions taken today. The power of vision, the ability to see clearly and in vivid detail what you want to create in your life, is one of the most underutilized capacities of the human mind, and perhaps the most powerful tool for transformation available to any human being. Most people have only the vaguest sense of what they want, like trying to navigate without a map or compass. They know what they do not want. They can list their problems and complaints with great detail and passionate intensity, but when asked to describe their ideal life, their perfect day, their ultimate goals, their deepest dreams, they stumble and struggle to articulate a clear picture. They can tell you everything that is wrong with their current situation, but cannot paint a compelling picture of what their ideal situation would look like. Yet without a clear vision of where you want to go, how can you possibly expect to get there? Without a detailed mental picture of what you want to create, how can you recognize the opportunities that will help you create it when they appear? Without a compelling future pulling you forward like a powerful magnet, how can you find the motivation to overcome the inevitable challenges that will arise on your journey from where you are to where you want to be? The process of creating a clear, compelling vision of your desired future is not merely an intellectual exercise or pleasant daydream. It is a creative act that begins to reshape your reality the moment you engage in it with focused intention and emotional involvement. When you take the time to imagine in vivid detail what your life would look like if you were living at your highest potential, when you see yourself achieving your goals with crystalline clarity, experiencing your dreams with full sensory involvement, becoming the person you are capable of becoming with complete conviction, you are not just daydreaming or engaging in wishful thinking. You are programming your subconscious mind with a blueprint for success, creating a mental template that your unconscious mind will work tirelessly to manifest in your external reality. You are training your brain to recognize opportunities that align with your vision, to notice resources that can help you achieve your goals, to generate creative solutions to challenges that arise. You are creating a magnetic force that begins to attract the people, circumstances, and resources you need to make your vision a reality through the mysterious but scientifically documented law of attraction. But vision alone is not enough. No matter how clear or compelling it may be, dreams without action remain fantasies. Beautiful pictures in the mind that never become reality. Goals without effort remain wishes. Hopes that never materialize into actual achievements. This brings us to the third step in your transformation. The willingness to take action despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite the voice in your head that tells you that you are not ready, not qualified, not good enough, not smart enough, not experienced enough, not worthy enough to achieve what you desire. Fear is perhaps the greatest enemy of positive thinking, not because fear is inherently negative or serves no purpose, but because fear has the power to paralyze, to prevent action, to keep you trapped in your current circumstances. No matter how clear your vision or how positive your thoughts or how intense your desire for change, fear whispers seductive lies that sound reasonable and protective, but are actually prison bars that keep you locked in limitation. Fear tells you that you should wait until you feel more confident, until you have more experience, until you have more resources, until you have more knowledge, until you have more support, until the conditions are perfect, until you can guarantee success before you begin. But here is what fear does not tell you, what it carefully conceals behind its mask of false protection. The conditions will never be perfect. You will never feel completely ready. There will always be reasons to wait, to postpone, to delay, to play it safe, to avoid the risk of failure or rejection or embarrassment. Perfect conditions are a myth. Complete readiness is an illusion, and absolute certainty is impossible in a world of constant change and infinite variables. The difference between those who transform their lives and achieve their dreams and those who remain stuck in patterns of limitation and unfulfilled potential is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of fear, to move forward in the presence of uncertainty, to take the next step even when they cannot see the entire staircase. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. It is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It is acknowledging that fear is a natural response to stepping outside your comfort zone, but refusing to let that fear make your decisions for you. Every person who has ever accomplished anything significant who has ever made a meaningful contribution to the world, who has ever transformed their life from ordinary to extraordinary, has had to face their fears and act anyway. They understood that growth and comfort cannot coexist, that to expand their lives they had to expand their comfort zones, that to become more than they were, they had to do more than they had ever done before, that to achieve what they had never achieved, they had to be willing to do what they had never done. When you commit to taking action despite your fears, when you make the decision to move forward even when you cannot see the entire path clearly, when you choose to trust in your ability to figure things out as you go rather than waiting for complete certainty before you begin, you discover something remarkable about yourself that no amount of theory or motivation can teach you. You discover that you are far more capable than you ever imagined, far more resilient than you ever believed, far more resourceful than you ever knew, far stronger than you ever realized, far more intelligent than you ever gave yourself credit for being. Each time you face a fear and act anyway, you build confidence like a muscle that grows stronger with use. Each time you take a risk and survive, whether you succeed or fail, you expand your sense of what is possible. Your comfort zone enlarges, and your capacity for future action increases. Each time you step outside your comfort zone and discover that the world does not end, that you can handle whatever happens, that you can learn from any outcome, you prove to yourself that your limitations are largely self-imposed and therefore can be self-removed. But let me be clear about something that is often misunderstood about positive thinking and taking action in spite of fear. Taking action despite fear does not mean being reckless or irresponsible or ignoring legitimate concerns or proceeding without any preparation whatsoever. It does not mean throwing caution to the wind or acting impulsively without thought or consideration. It means refusing to let fear make your decisions for you, while still exercising wisdom and prudence. It means gathering the information you need, making reasonable preparations, consulting with wise advisors, and then moving forward, even if you do not feel completely ready, even if you cannot guarantee the outcome, even if there are still unknowns and uncertainties that cannot be resolved in advance. It means understanding that perfect certainty is an illusion, and that waiting for guarantees is a sure way to guarantee that you will wait forever, that opportunities will pass you by while you are still trying to eliminate all risks and uncertainties. The fourth step in your transformation involves a complete reframing of how you view setbacks, failures, disappointments, and temporary defeats, transforming these seemingly negative experiences from sources of discouragement into sources of wisdom, strength, and eventual success. Most people see these experiences as evidence that they should give up, that their goals are unrealistic, that positive thinking does not work in the real world, that they were foolish to believe they could achieve something beyond their current circumstances. They allow temporary defeats to convince them of permanent failure, interpreting short-term setbacks as long-term verdicts on their potential. They see setbacks as stop signs rather than detours, as permanent roadblocks rather than temporary obstacles that can be overcome with persistence, creativity, and the right strategy. But the mind that truly understands the power of positive thinking sees setbacks differently, with the wisdom of experience and the perspective of someone who understands that failure is not the opposite of success, but an essential part of the success process. It sees setbacks as feedback, as information, as course corrections that bring you closer to your goals rather than farther from them, as valuable data that helps you refine your approach and improve your strategy. It understands that every failure contains within it the seeds of equivalent or greater success, but only for the person who is willing to look for those seeds, to learn from the experience, to extract the lessons that will serve them in the future, to mine the gold of wisdom from the ore of apparent defeat. When Thomas Edison was asked about his thousands of failed attempts to create the electric light bulb, he did not see them as failures at all. He saw them as successful discoveries of thousands of ways that did not work, each one bringing him closer to the way that would work, each failure eliminating one more possibility and narrowing the field of potential solutions. This is not merely clever wordplay or positive spin designed to make failure feel better. This is a fundamental truth about the nature of achievement, innovation, and success in any field of human endeavor. Every person who has ever accomplished anything significant has failed more times than most people ever try. The difference is not that successful people do not fail, but that they do not let fail define them, discourage them, or derail them from their ultimate destination. They do not let temporary setbacks determine their permanent direction or convince them that their goals are impossible. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success, an integral component of the achievement process that cannot be avoided or eliminated, but can be transformed from an enemy into an ally. When you begin to see setbacks as setups for comebacks, when you start to view failures as tuition payments in the university of life, when you understand that every disappointment is directing you towards something better, your entire relationship with adversity changes from one of victimization to one of empowerment. You no longer fear failure because you know that failure is simply information that helps you improve your approach. You no longer avoid risks because you understand that the greatest risk is not taking any risks at all. That the only way to guarantee failure is to never try. That playing it safe is actually the most dangerous strategy in a rapidly changing world. You no longer let temporary defeats convince you of permanent limitations because you know that every ending is also a beginning. Every closed door is pointing you toward an open one. Every no is bringing you closer to a yes. This shift in perspective transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a student of life. Always learning, always growing, always evolving into a better, wiser, more capable version of yourself. You begin to approach challenges with curiosity rather than dread, with excitement rather than anxiety, with confidence rather than... You start to see problems as puzzles to be solved rather than punishments to be endured. Obstacles as opportunities in disguise rather than barriers to your success. The fifth step in your transformation involves the deliberate cultivation of positive influences in your environment. Recognizing that just as a plant cannot thrive in poor soil, your positive thinking cannot flourish in a consistently negative environment. The people you spend time with, the books you read, the programs you watch, the music you listen to, the conversations you engage in, the social media you consume, all of these influence your thinking, your emotions, your beliefs, and your expectations far more than most people realize or are willing to admit. If you are constantly surrounded by negative people who complain about their circumstances, who focus relentlessly on what is wrong with the world, who see obstacles instead of opportunities, who criticize rather than encourage, who tear down rather than build up, their negativity will inevitably influence your thinking, not because you are weak or easily influenced, but because the human brain is designed to mirror the mental and emotional states of those around us through what neuroscientists call mirror neurons. These specialized brain cells automatically copy the emotions, attitudes, and behaviors of people in our environment, which is why you feel energized around positive people and drained around negative people, why you feel motivated in the presence of achievers and discouraged in the presence of complainers, why you feel hopeful around optimists and pessimistic around cynics. This neurological reality means that you must be intentional about who you spend your time with, what you feed your mind, what influences you allow into your mental space, what voices you give permission to speak into your consciousness. You must become a guardian of your own consciousness, protecting it from negative influences just as vigilantly as you would protect your body from physical toxins or your computer from malicious viruses. This does not mean you should be unrealistic. It means you should be selective about what you allow to dominate your mental diet, conscious about the ratio of positive to negative influences you expose yourself to, strategic about creating an environment that supports your growth rather than sabotages it. If you spend most of your time consuming negative news that focuses on everything that is wrong with the world, engaging in negative conversations that revolve around complaints and criticism, or surrounding yourself with negative people who drain your energy and diminish your dreams, you will find it increasingly difficult to maintain positive thoughts and positive expectations, no matter how much you want to think positively. Your environment will be working against your transformation rather than supporting it. But if you deliberately seek out positive influences, if you consciously choose to spend time with people who inspire you, who believe in your potential, who encourage your dreams, if you regularly read books that expand your thinking, challenge your limitations, and introduce you to new possibilities, if you listen to programs that motivate you, educate you, and elevate your consciousness, you will find that positive thinking becomes natural and effortless, rather than forced and artificial. You will discover that your environment is supporting your transformation rather than sabotaging it, that the voices around you are echoing and amplifying your own positive inner voice, rather than drowning it out with negativity and doubt. The principle of association is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology and one of the most reliable predictors of future success or failure. Show me who a person associates with regularly, and I will show you their future with remarkable accuracy. Show me what a person reads, watches, and listens to consistently, and I will show you the direction their life is heading with scientific precision. Show me the conversations a person engages in most frequently, and I will show you the thoughts that dominate their consciousness. You become like the people you spend the most time with, not because you consciously choose to imitate them, but because human beings are inherently social creatures who unconsciously adopt the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of their peer group. You begin to think like the authors you read most frequently, because books are conversations with some of the greatest minds in history, and these conversations shape your thoughts just as surely as face-to-face conversations do. You start to see the world through the lens of the media you consume most regularly, because every program, every article, every post is subtly programming your mind with certain assumptions. Understanding this principle gives you incredible power to shape your own destiny by consciously choosing your associations and influences rather than allowing them to be determined by chance, convenience, or social pressure. When you surround yourself with people who believe in you, who see your potential even when you cannot see it yourself, who encourage your dreams even when they seem impossible, who support your growth even when it requires change, you begin to see yourself through their eyes and discover capabilities you never knew you possessed. When you fill your mind with stories of people who have overcome great obstacles, who have achieved remarkable success against all odds, who have transformed their lives through the power of positive thinking and persistent action, you begin to believe that such transformation is possible for you as well, that the same principles that worked for them can work for you. When you consistently expose yourself to ideas that expand your thinking, challenge your limitations, and inspire your imagination, your mind begins to operate at a higher level, to conceive possibilities that previously seemed impossible, to generate solutions that previously seemed beyond your reach, to envision a future that previously seemed reserved for other people. The sixth step in your transformation involves the daily practice of gratitude, not as a polite social convention or a religious obligation or a superficial exercise in positive thinking, but as a powerful psychological tool that literally rewires your brain for positivity success, and abundance, while simultaneously creating a magnetic force that attracts more positive experiences into your life. This system is programmed by what you focus on most consistently, what you think about most frequently, what you believe to be most important, what you pay attention to most regularly. When you consistently practice gratitude, when you regularly focus on what you appreciate in your life, when you habitually look for things to be thankful for, you program your reticular activating system to notice more things to be grateful for, to scan your environment for positive experiences, to highlight opportunities for appreciation. You begin to see opportunities that were always there, but that you previously overlooked because your mind was focused on problems. You start to notice positive aspects of situations that you previously saw only in negative terms because your attention was trained on what was lacking. You become aware of resources and possibilities that were always available, but that your negatively programmed mind simply filtered out as unimportant or irrelevant. The practice of gratitude also has profound effects on your emotional state, your physical health, your mental well-being, and your relationships with others, effects that have been documented and validated by numerous scientific studies. When you approach life from a place of appreciation rather than entitlement, when you focus consistently on what you have received rather than what you have been denied, when you acknowledge the contributions of others rather than taking them for granted, when you recognize the countless ways you are blessed rather than dwelling on the few ways you are challenged, you create a positive energy that attracts more positive experiences into your life like a magnet attracts metal. People want to be around grateful people because gratitude is contagious and uplifting. Opportunities flow toward those who appreciate them because appreciation creates an energy of receptivity and readiness. Success comes more easily to those who acknowledge it when it appears because acknowledgement reinforces and amplifies positive experiences while criticism and complaint repel them. But perhaps most importantly, gratitude transforms your relationship with your current circumstances from one of endurance to one of appreciation. Instead of seeing your present situation as something to be tolerated until you can get to where you really want to be, you begin to find value and meaning in where you are right now. Instead of postponing your happiness until you achieve your goals, you discover happiness in the journey toward those goals. Instead of believing that you will be grateful when you get what you want, you realize that being grateful now is the surest way to get what you want because gratitude creates the mental and emotional state that attracts more things to be grateful for. This shift from conditional gratitude to unconditional appreciation is one of the most powerful transformations you can make in your thinking and in your life. It frees you from the prison of perpetual dissatisfaction, from the exhausting cycle of constantly seeking something outside yourself to make you happy. It releases you from the tyranny of thinking that your happiness depends entirely on external circumstances, on other people's actions, on conditions beyond your control. It empowers you to find joy and fulfillment in the present moment while still working toward an even better future, to appreciate what you have while still striving for what you want, to be content with where you are while still moving toward where you want to be. The seventh and final step in your transformation is perhaps the most crucial of all, the development of an unshakable belief in your own unlimited potential, a deep and abiding confidence in your ability to grow, to learn, to adapt, to overcome whatever challenges you may face, to achieve whatever goals you set for yourself, to become whatever you decide to become. This is not ego or arrogance or unrealistic fantasy disconnected from reality. This is not blind optimism that ignores obstacles or denies challenges. This is a deep, quiet confidence based on truth, on evidence, on the unlimited capacity of the human mind and spirit to transcend current limitations and create new possibilities. It is the understanding that your current circumstances do not define your future possibilities, that your past does not determine your potential, that your limitations are largely self-imposed, and therefore can be self-removed through conscious effort and persistent action. Most people live their lives within the narrow boundaries of what they believe is possible for them, like prisoners in cells whose doors are unlocked but who never think to try the handle. They look at their current skills, their current resources, their current circumstances, their current level of success, and they conclude that these present realities represent the permanent limits of what they can achieve. They forget that every skill they now possess was once completely unknown to them, that every resource they now have was once beyond their reach, that their current circumstances are the result of past thoughts and actions, and can therefore be changed by new thoughts and new actions.
They act as though their potential is fixed, as though their intelligence is static, as though their abilities are permanently determined by their genes or their education or their background or their age. But when you truly understand your unlimited potential, when you grasp the incredible capacity of the human mind to learn and grow and adapt throughout your entire lifetime, when you realize that the only real limitations are the ones you accept as permanent and unchangeable, everything changes in your thinking and in your life. You stop making excuses and start making progress. You stop focusing on why you cannot succeed and start focusing on how you can succeed. You stop being intimidated by the success of others and start being inspired by what is possible for you. You stop seeing successful people as fundamentally different from you and start seeing them as examples of what you can become. You stop believing that extraordinary achievement is reserved for extraordinary people and start realizing that extraordinary achievement is available to ordinary people who are willing to do extraordinary things consistently over time. This belief in your unlimited potential is not something you can develop overnight through positive affirmations or motivational speeches, though these can certainly be helpful as part of the process. It is not something you can simply decide to believe because it sounds good, or because you want it to be true. It is something you must prove to yourself through experience, through action, through the gradual accumulation of evidence that you are far more capable than you ever imagined, far more resilient than you ever believed, far more intelligent than you ever gave yourself credit for being. Every time you learn a new skill, you prove to yourself that you can learn, that your capacity for growth is not limited by your past experience or current knowledge. Every time you overcome a challenge that once seemed impossible, you prove to yourself that you can overcome obstacles, that your strength is greater than you realize. Every time you achieve something you once thought was beyond your reach, you expand your sense of what is possible, you stretch the boundaries of what you believe you can accomplish. This is why taking action, even small action, is so crucial to developing unshakable self-belief and unlimited confidence in your potential. You cannot think your way to confidence. You must act your way to confidence through consistent action that proves your capabilities. You cannot visualize your way to self-belief. You must demonstrate your way to self-belief through achievement that validates your potential. You cannot affirm your way to unlimited potential. You must prove your way to unlimited potential through results that confirm your power. But here is the beautiful paradox of personal transformation and unlimited potential. The more you prove to yourself that you can achieve, the more you realize there is to achieve. The more you expand your capabilities, the more you become aware of your potential for even greater expansion. The more you grow, the more you understand how much more you can grow. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to learn. The more you accomplish, the more you see new possibilities for accomplishment. This is not a source of frustration or overwhelming pressure. but of excitement and unlimited possibility, not a burden that weighs you down, but a blessing that lifts you up, not a problem that discourages you, but a promise that inspires you to keep growing, keep learning, keep achieving, keep becoming more than you are today. When you truly embrace the power of positive thinking, when you integrate all 7 steps of transformation into your daily life with consistency and commitment, when you make these principles not just concepts you understand intellectually, but realities you live experientially, you discover that life becomes an adventure rather than an ordeal, a journey of continuous growth rather than a struggle for survival, an opportunity to express your highest potential rather than a series of obstacles to overcome or endure. You begin to understand that you were not born to live a life of quiet desperation, settling for whatever circumstances happen to come your way, accepting limitation as inevitable, or resigning yourself to mediocrity as your permanent lot in life. You were born to be a creator, a shaper of your own destiny, a force for positive change in your own life and in the lives of others, an example of what is possible when a human being decides to take full responsibility for their thoughts, their actions, and their results. The power to transform your life through positive thinking is not a theory to be debated in academic circles or a concept to be studied from a distance. It is a reality to be experienced personally, a tool to be used practically, a gift to be unwrapped and enjoyed fully.
But like any gift, it must be accepted before it can be enjoyed. Like any tool, it must be used before it can be effective. Like any reality, it must be experienced before it can be fully understood and appreciated. The choice is yours, and it is a choice you must make, not once, but every day, not in theory, but in practice, not when conditions are perfect, but in the midst of imperfect circumstance. You can continue to live as you have always lived, thinking as you have always thought, getting the results you have always gotten, remaining trapped in patterns that no longer serve you. Or you can choose to transform your thinking, to embrace your unlimited potential, to become the conscious architect of your own destiny. You can choose to see obstacles as opportunities for creativity and growth, problems as possibilities for innovation and improvement, setbacks as setups for dramatic comeback. You can choose to surround yourself with positive influences that support your growth, to practice daily gratitude that rewires your brain for abundance, to take action despite your fears that proves your capabilities. You can choose to believe in yourself and your ability to create the life you truly want to live, the life you dream about, the life that represents the fullest expression of your unique potential and gift. The power is within you right now, at this very moment, waiting to be unleashed, waiting to transform not just your thinking, but your entire existence, your entire existence, your entire experience of what it means to be alive on this planet. The question is not whether you have this power, because you do.
The question is not whether positive thinking works, because it does when properly understood and consistently applied. The question is not whether transformation is possible,
because it is and it happens every day to people just like you. The question is whether you will choose to use this power, whether you will commit to the process of transformation, whether you are ready to be transformed from who you are into who you can become. Your life is waiting for your decision. Your potential is calling for your commitment. Your transformation begins now in this moment with your next thought, your next decision, your next action. Make it a positive one. Make it a powerful one. Make it a transformative one. And watch as the power of positive thinking begins to reshape your reality in ways you never dreamed possible, creating a life that exceeds your wildest expectations and becomes a testament to the unlimited potential that exists within every human being who dares to believe and acts on that belief with unwavering faith and persistent action.